I've got you under my skin. I've got you deep in the heart of me.
There's no doubt that Tony Bennett is a legend. Many people sing his covers, but for you, I feel like this album is extra special because you knew him. I mean, you shared a Las Vegas showroom.
Yeah, so in 2004, I moved down to Vegas, which at the time I was 25 or something like that. And I remember being there and I was like, I never thought I would be in the place where so many of my heroes were, like Sammy Davis and, Ella Fitzgerald and of course, Tony Bennett. And sure enough, within the first year I moved there, I was sharing a showroom with him. So every single time he would come into town, I would get the boot. But now I would also, though, get free tickets to all his shows. So I got to not only see him over, I think, a dozen times when I was in Vegas, but I also got to go backstage and hang out with him and chat with him. And over the course of my years, got to meet him on the road many, many times.
I left my heart in San Francisco.
Well, the interesting thing I find looking at Bennett's career is the longevity of it. I mean, There were different times when he rose to the top of the charts. In particular, a lot of people know him from the later part of his career where somehow he and Lady Gaga found themselves, and all of a sudden there's a huge hit record with the two of them. But, what do you think made Bennett so timeless?
First and foremost, I think it's a bygone era. It's when you could be a working musician and have a career for as long as you wanted. Now in this fast-paced world, we're on TikTok and Instagram and all these things. It's just like swipe, 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 swipe. Back then, you could actually fail a few times. Your career could kind of take a little bit of a lull and then you could still come back. But it's also something to be said about him as a person. Like, who has the same job for 70 years? Like, Jason, I know you'll be working here for, another at least 45, 50.
They're going to have to shovel me on out of this particular chair. You got it. But yourself, though, I mean, you've been in the game for, we're the same age. You've been in the game for a long time as well now.
Yeah, we have this quote within the music industry. We say musicians don't retire, they die. Right? Because we have our love for what we love doing. And, with someone like Tony Bennett, it's interesting because, back in the 60s is when his career really kind of was at the top at that time. He had his big single, I Left My Heart in San Francisco. But then in the 70s, his career really did take a downturn, but then it came right back. And when you have someone connected, he was the only one up until recently that was connected to that heyday of crooners and jazz singers and popular American songbook kind of music. So with Lady Gaga, she even said publicly, she's like, to Tony, thank you for what was the word she says, for saying that I could do it. Thank you for giving me credibility because I love these songs. And although I did not have a huge hit record like she did with Tony, I still got to spend the time with him, and he did teach me things that, although subtle, did change the outcome, which is why I have this record and this tour.
In the wee small hours of the morning, while the whole wide world is fast asleep.
All right, well, let's talk about, your personal experience. You grew up in Ontario, in, the Toronto area. You've had great success worldwide. This particular tour, though, these 15 dates, is back home. Does this become a little bit more personal to you by performing locally?
I have to tell you, sleeping in my own bed every night is kind of a joy. Because usually when we tour across Canada and the States, like, okay, 6 a.m., we got to drive 800 kilometers to the next gig. But being here, obviously, just because I grew up in here, and when as a young adult, older teenager, I used to go to all the bars and play. So it's like I have a lot of people around the neighborhood that I do know that come. But also at the same time, it's amazing to me that how many new people come to the shows, especially younger people. So of course my audience is mostly older, but you'll have people come out like 20, 25. 30, and they're like, oh, I just found this music on Spotify and I saw you were playing. Had to come see it live in person.
Well, I'm going to give you a little pat on the back for that because recently I've been on your socials, even though I'm one of the old guys.
I banded you.
Yeah, no, I'm there. I've been on your socials and I've seen you do things that do appeal to a younger demographic. In particular, I saw some Sabrina Carpenter.
That's that me espresso.
I saw a little Miley Cyrus action.
I can buy myself flowers.
You're doing those songs, but you're doing them in a crooner style. What made you want to go ahead and do those?
It was totally as a joke. Like, I started the first one, which was Taylor Swift.
And it's it's a cruel summer.
I posted it and it got 2 million views within the first 3 or 4. And I was just like, man, the Taylor Swift effect is legit. It is. And what it taught me is that, we listen to a lot of new music and a lot of people go, oh, they don't make music like they used to. Oh, it's terrible. But when you take song and you put it into that old way, it can work. It can work.
Cause the player's gonna play. And the hater's gonna hate, baby. I'm just gonna shake. Shake it off, I shake it off.
So for these shows that you're out on tour doing, is it all Bennett all the time? Or do you throw in, a couple of these newbies or their Matt Dusk originals? I mean, I'm always in for some good news.
Yeah. So the one thing about Tony Bennett was obviously he sang repertoire from the Great American Songbook. So it's kind of hard that a song that him or Sinatra or Ella Fitzgerald wouldn't touch. The whole point of the show was to kind of bring it back to when I was first introduced to Tony Bennett in person, which is when I was at the Golden Nugget in Las Vegas, where he would play with a small band, either a trio or a quartet. And I wanted to share stories of my experience with him. And at the same time, of course, I'll be definitely doing some of my own material, but there won't be any good news. But I know. But if someone pays me, I will sing "Happy Birthday."
Okay.
I mean, Tony Bennett definitely covered "Happy Birthday."
Okay, great. So there you go. So bring a few bucks, toss it up on stage at Matt.
Yeah,
and
I'll be $2.
Do you take debit?
Absolutely not. Just cash.
Oh, just cash. Cash only at the performances.
I like those great Italian meat the sandwich places where, like California sandwiches, cash only.
He's old school, folks. He's old school and continues to be. The concerts are happening all across Ontario. Check out one that is coming to your community. Matt, thanks so much for hanging out.
Jason, always a pleasure.
The best is yet to come the day you're mine.